Good evening, everyone. Just waiting. Let me know if you're here. Oh, yes, we have someone here. Fantastic. Let me know if you're here and give me a thumbs up if you're here and also where you're tuning in from. We have quite a few people overseas. I certainly have clients from overseas, over on the other side of the world. So, yeah, let me know where you're from. I had a lovely conversation with a lady in Canada this morning, so that was really cool. Here we are tonight, and I'm bringing forth the topic about cell membrane health. And the reason why I'm bringing this forward is because, I've heard it time and time again. You're doing all of the things. You're having the healthy diet, you're doing the exercise, you're having the sleep, yet you're still not getting improvement. And this actually could be the game changer that you're looking for. Let me just refresh my screen. Just want to make sure that, oh yes, wonderful. Okay, beautiful. Hey, Shell, my beautiful Shell is here, my helper. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to carry on because she's got it all in hand. Um, okay, let me just shift my screen a little bit. Excuse me. Excuse me for the little techno glitches. Alrighty, so this is what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So first of all, the topic is the inner workings of your cell and why the right oil matters. Now, with oil, what I'm talking about is I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids. Now, before you say, oh, I'm taking omega-3 and switch off and go and do something else, stay tuned. Please stay tuned because I used to also think I'm having a high practitioner grade oil. I'm spending, goodness knows, over 100 in Australian dollars, like $150 for an exceptional, what I thought was an exceptional supplement. And then we have a dosage factor where it says on the packet that, to get the right essential fatty acids, well, as a naturopath, my understanding is to get the right essential fatty acids, we really need to have about 2 to 4 grams per day, depending on what is our condition, meaning like health ailment. So, whether you're a 50 kilogram person or a 100 kilogram person, we're dosing as a brand new naturopath, we're dosing at like 2 to 8 caps a day to get that 2 to 4 grams in the body. Anyway, stick with me here. So just to give you a little backstory, way back when I first was qualified as a naturopath, I understood the importance of cell membrane and cell membranes in terms of the body's ability to take on and absorb nutrients to produce energy and for the body to detox waste, essentially, right? And then, over time, I found that many of my clients weren't able to stick to the omega-3 fatty acids. And anyway, long story short, as I progressed as a naturopath, I really did have the hat and hold the hat of food first philosophy, and it's very much what I teach today, even with my clients. We really work at the foundational layers and foundational levels as opposed to just trying to fix the roof. And in doing that, I always had a little quandary around, fish and fatty fish, fresh fish, omega-3 fatty acids, because I understand how the industry operates. Obviously, this depends on what country you're from. However, dare I say, in most Western worlds and civilizations, that there is mass-produced salmon and mass-produced oily fatty fish from fish farms. And you know what? Have a look, look it up, right? The fish are treated appallingly. The conditions are appalling for most of these fish farms. And let's just say they're fed grain. And, if you understand that omega-3 fatty acids come from oily fish, well, then you will then be able to deduct that if a fish is fed grain, it is not going to have the same profile of omega-3 fatty acids within its flesh because the food source is grain, which is not omega-3. It's not fish. So there lies a problem. The other problem in relying on food alone is that our wild caught species potentially are taking on things like mercury, heavy metals, other heavy metals, and also microplastics, because our oceans are filled with microplastics. Since the invention of plastic was probably one of the worst inventions, and if you're here, you may understand that the thyroid gland, being a very sensitive gland, actually takes on a lot of these particles and toxins. And they've actually done research and studies where through autopsy they've found many particles of microplastics actually residing in the tissue. Okay, so there lies a problem there as well. So initially I was, when many of my clients way back, like over a decade ago, when I was a brand new naturopath, many of my clients were unable to take the 4 to 8 caps a day, as I wasn't either. And on a therapeutic level, that's what was required. That was what was required to really create that integral cell membrane. So I thought, well, okay, well, if clients aren't really going to be able to take the amount of supplements through like omega-3 supplements, the high grade ones, and then if they're not able to, really source fish that we know is being farmed sustainably and healthily, well, then what do? There becomes a quandary. So let's just say, taking the moderate approach, I went to recommending that clients take a little bit of fish oil and then have a little bit of fish, but not too much, you know. And then, over time doing functional testing, I would find that many clients have high mercury levels and other heavy metals, and let's just say there's a problem with food. But we're not talking about the environment today. If you're wanting to learn more about the environment and the environmental toxins, I have studied and researched very widely on the matter. So just type environment and we'll get some information to you. I've written a couple of blogs in the past, or articles, and they're probably due for an update, because last time I looked, there are about 3,000 to 4,000 different chemicals being released on the market every single day. So there's a problem here. So let's just get back to why oils ain't oils and why the right oil matters for your cell membrane. Okay. So here's the thing, ladies and gents. Healing doesn't happen at the symptom level. It happens at the cellular level. So, many of my clients coming through the autoimmune window or thyroid, Hashimoto's, Graves' disease window, they state that one of their overarching symptoms is feeling inflamed. Even if the CRP is normal or the ESR, which are inflammatory markers on your pathology, are normal. They're feeling inflamed. And you know what? There would be inflammation. That we've all got inflammation. In fact, I'll just jump to this now. There's been a clinical trial that is currently now in phase 2, where they're actually showing the balance oil and actually, segregating people that are actually taking the balance oil compared to not, or other omega-3 fatty acid supplements. And in that study, they've tested over 500,000 people. And from the data that they've gained so far, they've found that 99% of that subset of population are out of balance. Now, what am I talking about when I'm talking about being out of balance? Let me explain. Our phospholipid membrane, which is the cell membrane of which we have 37 trillion cells in our body, our cell membrane is mainly is fat, okay? And it's mainly made up of omega-3 and other omegas, but mainly omega-3. And that's what helps the cell membrane to remain intact and integral so that the channels are healthy for nutrients to be absorbed in and for toxins, waste product, metabolites of cellular metabolism to be shunted out. Okay, so it's like a forever flow. It's like a highway, like traffic coming this way, traffic coming that way. Like our body doesn't just decide, oh, I'm going to detox today. Like it's happening all of the time. It doesn't ever stop. Okay, so if you're feeling quite lymphy and you've got lymphatic congestion, there's the likelihood that your cells are going to be inflamed, your cell membranes are going to be inflamed, as well as many other issues. For example, the liver, digestive system not functioning as well, etc., etc. All right, and there's many other things that contribute to that. However, one of the overarching ones is cellular inflammation. Okay. So yeah, it's almost like, everything gets stuck and the messages are not getting through. So then how is your body able to produce energy if the messages or the nutrients are not getting through the cell membrane into the little Golgi apparatus, which are like the mitochondria? You may have heard of mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondrial dysfunction is basically a cellular term for fatigue, for when the body's not producing energy so that it can function well. That's why it's dysfunction, because it's the mitochondria, which is like the little ever-ready batteries of your cells. So that's what produces energy, and it does that through many different pathway, or actually a pathway which has many different transactions. So you've got vitamin B2 coming in, B6 coming in, B3, and you've got other amino acids, and it's called the citric acid cycle or the Krebs cycle. So if you went and Googled Krebs cycle, which is Krebs, you will see that that's actually a very elaborate element of biochemistry, which is where your body is producing energy at that cellular level. So then I will say that if you're not taking the right oil and if your cells are inflamed, of which we already know from a study that's been done that 99% of the population, this demographic was in America, Australia would be no different, and many of the Asian populations and countries would be no different because they're using a lot of seed oils for cooking, which are very inflammatory, most likely a lot of genetically modified oils for cooking. So yeah, there'll be a lot of rigidity in the cells of many people all over the world. So unless you are an Inuit or an Eskimo or, someone from 200-300 years ago, which, clearly that's not going to happen, it's very, very difficult to eat super cleanly and get your amount of omega-3 through diet. All right, it's actually, I would say it's impossible. So there lies a problem. So your body is trying to produce energy. It's on your side. At a cellular level, it's trying to do the transactions. It's trying to produce the energy. But things are a little bit slow, right? Things are a little bit slow. So that's why there's brain fog, fatigue, hormones aren't communicating well, digestion isn't working as well. We're talking all systems because the energy in our cells, it's not just to produce the energy that we are aware of, such as going for a run, going for walks, going and getting the shopping, putting it away, all of that physical effort. It's not just that type of energy. I'm talking about energy that is continuing while we are sleeping, energy that's helping our autonomic nervous system. So, for example, we go to sleep and our heart keeps beating because it's governed by an autonomic nervous system. It doesn't just go, oh, okay, she's asleep, I better stop now. That just doesn't happen. So our body is requiring energy all of the time. And of course, there is a priority system. So anything that is autonomic is going to get priority because, your body is on your side and it's wanting to keep you alive, of course, which basically means that, the leftovers are for you to carry out your working day, and hence why you may be feeling fatigued, because really the system is slow. Okay, the system is slow. Let me know if this makes sense. Just give me a heart if this makes sense. I'd really love to know, because my wish for tonight's live training is to really impart information and education so that you can understand. Because I'm having conversations every day about this balance oil, because I have every single one of my clients, I have my family, my neighbors, anyone that I'm getting in front of, I'm recommending this oil because of the significant changes that I'm seeing after working with it for 9 months. So I feel like I've got a lot of time under my belt now to have seen and witnessed the transformation of many people. So I feel really comfortable recommending it. And also, if you've got a problem or you're worried about any contraindication, I feel very, very comfortable. So that's why we have a gift at the end. So if you're wondering what the gift is, just stay to the end, and we have a gift for every single person that's here tonight. So let me know if you have any questions along the way as well. All right, let me just get back into this. Okay. All right, so our cells produce energy. This is where our energy is born. All right. Our body and our cells take on the vitamins and the minerals, create the energy inside of the cell so that we're able to do all of the things, right? So if you're suffering from brain fog, thyroid sluggishness, fatigue, flatline fatigue, this matters 100%. So, you don't need to push, you don't need to have a truckload of supplements. There's no point really. Even I would go as far as, doing all of the good things with your diet, because if your cell membranes are inflamed, you're not going to be able to absorb at its optimal capacity. Okay? So if you're doing everything right and you're still exhausted, please just drop a fire. The little fire emojis. Drop a fire in the comments, because I'd love to know whether you're watching the replay, and of course if you're coming in here, we're 1 week out before Christmas, so if you're doing your Christmas shopping and you come on in here later on, just drop a hashtag replay so that I know that you're here. All right, so the cell membrane is the gatekeeper. It is the inner intelligence between the external within your body and the internal, which is where energy is made, right? So it controls the nutrient entry, waste and toxic exit. It helps with hormone signaling and many other things, okay? So I hope you understand that if you cell membranes, of which most of us have inflamed cell membranes, we're just not going to be getting the goods in to our cell. And here's the thing, the body operates best at an omega-6 to an omega-3 ratio of 3:1 or less. The DNA understands 3:1, 2:1, or 1:1. Most of my clients, when we test them, they come back with a ratio of 16:1, 18:1. I've had a 31:1. I've had a 28:1. Okay. My test results were a 9.1:1, which is just out of range. So I was also unbalanced. Okay. Everybody's out of balance. I only had one client, and they know who they are. I only have one client that was in balance, which was remarkable. But every single other person has been out of balance. Okay, which really makes sense when in the clinical trial, 99% of the demographic were out of balance. Okay, so when I talk about out of balance, I'm talking about the ratios of fats within the cell membrane. This is crucially important. You need to understand this. So when we do the spot blood analysis, which is done by the independent testing laboratory called Vitus, which is a company over in Norway, and they are global leaders in spot blood analysis. Look them up, VITAS. you will find that we get a report which actually has the breakdown of all the different fats in your blood. So this is where I get really excited when I see that one of my clients that I've been working with for 18 months, she's done her second test a couple of months ago and is now in balance. So now is in balance or maybe slightly out, so semi-balance, 3.2 or 3.4 to 1. And basically, blood pressure has dropped. Cholesterol markers have dropped. Triglycerides have dropped. And really, everything is looking fantastic. From a signs and symptoms point of view, she has lost weight. Her energy is improved. She doesn't need the alarm in the morning. She doesn't have brain fog. She has enthusiasm and vigor and get up and go. So if this is how you're wanting to feel, just drop a vitality. And, we really need to connect because there is absolutely, with what we have available to us right now, to really work at that base foundation of health, this seriously is a game changer and I'm very excited about it. Okay, so here's another example. I had someone the other day that said, you know what, I feel like I'm doing all of the things to help with my inflammation. I'm taking curcumin, which is the curcuminoids, which comes from turmeric. I'm having all the green foods and all the veggies and having the purified water, but yet they still feel inflamed. Because it's not just about quenching the free radicals that cause the inflammation. It's also about repairing the structure which is inflamed from years and years of not actually putting the right things into your body. Okay, so this is the missing piece, which is why most protocols and a lot of protocols will only work to a certain degree, and then basically there is a gap. All right, everything from improving your thyroid signaling hormones, menopausal transition, autoimmune markers. We're talking everything. There's been a lot of clinical trials and studies to show that the kids, it's helping the kids' brains. People on the autism and Asperger's spectrum, this is a really big thing that's going on. 30 years ago, there was hardly anyone that had Asperger's or autism. I mean, it's very, very common today. So it's really important to get that DHA up to the brain and that EPA into the cell membrane, really from early on. It doesn't matter whether you're a baby or you're a 95-year-old, our cell membranes need repair and we need to actually work with them. All right? This is not theory. What I'm talking about has so much evidence behind it. And if you have a specific concern and you're wanting some evidence, just type the concern and then type evidence and I will send it across to you. So whether it's endometriosis or whether it's Alzheimer's or whether it's Asperger's or whether it's Hashimoto's. Okay, we don't have all the evidence for everything, but we've got a lot of evidence to support the biochemistry in that this balance oil concept is actually reducing inflammation. I'm watching this space where it comes to the autoantibodies. I'm really excited about this because, I feel that, after we get all the second tests and then the third test and then the fourth test, because essentially you test every 4 months because the cell follows the cell cycle, which is 120 days. So this balance oil concept, it comes with, it's basically an essential oil or an essential fatty acid correction program, which goes for 6 months. Then we don't just stop. Of course, we keep going. It's very cost effective. We just budget, like the way I look at it, is $65 a month. I just budget it the way I just build that into my food budget. Instead of getting my farmed fish, I'll still eat fish, don't get me wrong. However, I'm not relying on it to get the amount of omega-3s. I'm actually taking the balance oil every day, about 7 mils shot for my body weight. That's another thing. It's based on body weight. So 0.15 mil per kilogram of body weight. which is amazing because, typically a practitioner grade oil will say, 2 caps 3 times a day. And that's not going to be the same for every single person. So it's really important to take into consideration body weight as well. The other thing is it has natural forms of vitamin D, only about 500 IUs, but I'm very excited about that because I do my pathology regularly, so 1 to 2 times per year, and I did my pathology 2 weeks ago, and my vitamin D is the best it has ever been. And yes, you can probably tell I love the sun. However, on a personal note, I've always struggled to get good amounts of vitamin D, and my vitamin D is the highest it's ever been, just through 500 IUs, which is a very low dose from naturally sourced anchovies and sardines, and it's the absorption factor it's actually getting in. So I'm really excited about that as well. Alrighty, so the reason why most omega-3 oils don't work is they lack a key constituent, which is a polyphenol from pre-harvested olives. What this does is it stabilizes the omega-3 so that improves the stability index, so that once it goes through all the chambers of digestion, it actually gets to where it wants to and needs to go so that it can, the cell can do its job. Okay? So the stability index has been proven to be 32 hours, which is a really robust stability index. So what I mean by this is, like, if you can imagine, like, if you're going to cook fish at high, that's not a good example. If you're going to cook like an omega-3 oil, like a walnut oil or a flaxseed oil, you'll know that it smokes really quickly and it turns rancid really quickly. That's because it is omega-3, and there are the double bonds are not stable. Okay, so where there's a double bond, there is a tendency where it can become that fat can become unstable. So if the fats that we're eating are oxidizing in our body, they would then become pro-inflammatory, as opposed to theoretically what they're meant to be doing, and that is to be anti-inflammatory. So this is why when I say oils ain't oils, that's what I'm talking about. If you're going to take an omega-3, you want to make sure it actually gets into the cell membrane before it goes rancid, before it oxidizes. It's really, really important. Right, so dare I say, that would be why many fatty fish have natural sources of vitamin D, and also polyphenols, like beautiful wild-caught salmon has pink colored flesh, which is astaxanthin, and astaxanthin is a carotenoid, and that is actually helping the essential fatty acids remain intact. Yeah, so it's naturally derived. This is what happens in nature. So that's been mimicked to bypass all the problems that we have with the current state of affairs with the food industry and also the essential oil industry. So this is why it's called balanced oil, because it is balanced perfectly with omega-3, omega-9, omega-7, vitamin D in the form of naturally occurring D3. And it's like having your anchovies and sardines on a plate, but in the form of a little shot. So it's super easy to take, has a really lovely flavor. You can have capsules. It is suitable. There is a formula which is suitable for people who are vegan. That comes from algae. There is a formula that is suitable for people who don't have a gallbladder. That is called that has been microdized so that it will dissolve in water. So you could even just have it in like your smoothie or juice or whatever it is that you're having, if you're having that. And then there's also a premium essential fatty acid oil, which basically has 4 times the amount of polyphenol, which is really, really great for anyone with a low grade or even high grade chronic conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis. They're in pain daily, as an example, endometriosis, Hashimoto's, uncontrolled Hashimoto's, Alzheimer's, dementia, all of these types of like fire on the brain conditions. In fact, I take the premium. I most likely don't need it, but I take the premium because I just kind of think, well, if there's a premium and a standard, of course I'm going to just take the premium, right? Why wouldn't I? So, yeah, I may as well get the best one. So if you have any questions so far, please pop them in the chat. So just to bring it all together, because I don't want anyone to feel confused, you know, whatever essential fatty acid you've been taking so far, it's most likely been doing something. It just, if you're just unsure, just type test, because at the very least, I would highly recommend that you get yourself tested. Now, this blood spot test, it actually retails at $195. So it's relatively cheap. It's probably the cheapest functional test that I'm aware of. However, it is included within the subscription package if that's something that you're interested in finding out more about. And just type link, and I can send you a link so that you can have a look and understand all of this information. Also, if you're wanting to look at the clinical trial that I'm talking about, where they tested over 500,000 people, just type blog and we'll get that to you, because I talk about that in the blog, and I've also got hyperlinks to the actual study. So if you're wanting to get your eyes on the study and certainly have a look at, a bit of a story around that, just type link and we'll get that to you. Oh, sorry, blog, and we'll get that to you. Okay, so now the special gift for all live attendees, and certainly if you're watching the replay, I'm happy to give this as well. If you're curious and you're wanting to learn more about the balance oil, but you're unsure how relates to your health picture and your particular scenario, your clinical picture, I would love to gift you a complimentary session with me. So you are filling out an intake form, which is 6 pages long, so that I can have an understanding of your health history and what has got you to where you are today. And then we will have a consultation. From that consultation, I'll be able to map out and show you where this foundational piece is incredibly important. And then within this consultation, I will also give you 3 dietary and lifestyle steps that are absolutely key, that are standing out, that are, like, in my mind, like the number one next step for you to work on. And I will email that with resources and information, whatever it is that is required to help you with those 3 steps. Okay, those 3 areas that I see within our consultation that you need support on with your health. Okay, so from that consultation, it is gold, because it's going to give you understanding, education. It's also going to show me your health history and where you're at now and where you want to be. And from there, I'll be able to pick out 3 very, very pertinent steps for you to work on for your health right now. So if that's something that you would like to receive, after all, it is the season for giving. So if that is something that you would like to receive, just type receive, and I will send you, or my team, Shell or Leanne, will send the link out to you so that you can book in. You won't be able to book in this week. The end of this week, I'm taking a break. I'm actually taking 2 weeks off sessions and appointments. Of course, my clients have a special exception there. However, certainly from the 2nd week in the new year, you can book. Now, this is only valid to the end of January. So if you're wanting to receive this gift, just type receive, and just know that you need to book it in January. So it's only available in January. January is typically a little bit more of a downtime compared to other times within the year. So I'm very happy to gift this in January 2026. Alrighty, so if you're wanting some more information and you're just wanting to have a little read, you might be watching this, I don't know, you might be watching this on Boxing Day and you might think, okay, I need to find out more about this balance oil concept, just message me, pop it in the messenger. I'll be coming on social media from time to time and I'll send you some information. Information is and knowledge is power, especially when it's applied. Okay, what my wish is for everybody to understand how this can apply to them so that they can then understand how it will positively impact their health. And we're talking 4 months. Some people actually get great results within 2 to 3 weeks. We're talking 4 months to do a thorough correction on the cell membrane, all right, of which you have 37 trillion. So a lot of work for these little omegas to do. Alrighty, so that being said, stay connected. We have a lot in store for 2026. Have a beautiful break across Christmas and the New Year. And, if you're wanting to reach out and if you're wanting to have a call with me for anything else in terms of your thyroid or your general health and well-being, please reach out and we'll organize something for the new year. Until then, stay safe, have an amazing Christmas, have some beautiful time with family, and 2 feet on the floor, nice deep breath, let go of anything external, and remember we can't control everything, but what we can control is our response to everything. That's it from me. Bye for now.